hit by the Japanese.
This was in Hong Kong?
In Hong Kong, exactly.
Well, yes, obviously you've seen a lot of changes in the world, but, music is your business. Surely in those days, almost 60 years ago when you first started being a DJ, and now you're still a DJ, music has changed. The way people appreciate music, the way music is done. Do you feel that it has changed too much? How has it changed?
I'll put it to you this way, Michael. I think I see a trend of 10 years. After every 10 years, it changes. So being a disc jockey, I have to keep up with it.
Do you like these changes?
I don't think I have a choice.
I mean, you must have been playing records when they were doing rock and roll, and people used to say the word record. They don't say that anymore.
No,
now, right?
I used to play the 78 RPM records. One song on one disc. You just knock on the bricks. It's that easy. But then, of course, from that they went on to 45s and then LPs and all that. So
now, what do you do when you're in the studio? Do you stick in a CD or
I use
DVD?
a CD. Through the computer, the internet. I can get any song I want on the internet.
Are you used to that kind of? Does it take away from being a DJ, the fun of being a DJ?
Yeah,
putting a record there and then putting the needle on it.
I miss that. I miss those good old days. I prefer to spin my own records, like they do it in the discos and all that. But it's not to be, because you have to keep up with the times,
Of course, in Hong Kong, Uncle Ray, I mean, you've met and interviewed the world's greatest song artists, but in Hong Kong, it has changed. It's all canto pop now, isn't it?
Yeah, as I said, I went through the big band era, I went through the disco era, and then, of course, now canto pop.
But do you like the change? Why has it changed so much in Hong Kong? That foreign artists are no longer big, and the local kids all go after these canto pop stars, and they're the superstars.
As you put it, Michael, I was born here, so I'm a local boy, and I'm happy to see that canto pop is big. And there's no way you can just erase it from this world or from the face of the earth, because majority of the people in Hong Kong are all Cantonese. They're singing in their own language. The recording has improved, so it's nice to see that they are improving. You could never find a composer in Hong Kong composing Cantonese music until now. There's so many composers now. The recordings from 4 track to 36 tracks, so it's really a vast improvement.
When did you begin noticing the change that Hong Kong is getting its own music culture?
I didn't notice it because I grew up with it. It just came like a tsunami. It just came rushing in and out.
Are you adjusting to it?
What?
Are you adjusting to this? Because it's always nice to say, I've interviewed Frank Sinatra, and I've interviewed the Beatles, or I've interviewed Cliff Richard. But do you think you get as much of a thrill to say, I've interviewed a canto pop star?
Well, frankly, I haven't interviewed any canto pop stars, because when I get on a Chinese station, TV station, and when I interview a canto pop star, it's normally in Cantonese. Fortunately...
And you cannot use that on your show?
Not on my show, but I'm talking about TV. I can speak Cantonese pretty well, because I was born here.
Right.
So the interview goes through very, very smoothly. And, the guest is always happy that I could speak his language,
But do you get the same thrill?
Not really, to be quite honest. I feel more at home speaking English and interviewing.
Now, do you get the same thrill, like I say, if you're with a big international star or if you're with a big canto pop star? Do you feel the same thrill?
Just the same, as far as I'm concerned. If I have a big name sitting in front of me, he's the one I talk to. He's the one I'm going to interview. And then maybe after a couple of weeks, another person comes in and sits in that same chair. I feel the same because, like you have interviewed many people. You know how
well, you know, you talk about big names. You know, I've got here, and I don't really want to ruin these because I think they must be worth a lot of money here. And we've got, like, you know, you've interviewed so many big stars here, and I'm holding up one here, which is with you, and you're with Cliff Richard.
Right. Cliff, you know, I've interviewed him about 5 times.
You've interviewed Cliff Richard 5 times?
Every time he comes to Hong Kong, I was there, and he said, "Hey, you again?"
Yes. And you've got a signature right here.
Right. There's no problem getting his signature. But the beauty about that picture is that it was RTHK's 75th anniversary, and he happened to be in town, so he was invited, and both of us sang congratulations.
Yeah, I can see that. And then, you know, obviously this is a prized one. I think you've got here, you've got here a magazine, and you've got the signature of the Beatles, right here, of the Beatles. And this must be a prized possession of yours.
Oh, definitely. I have a lot of landmarks in my career, you know, if you could use that word. I've interviewed, well, to start with the Beatles, for example, I've interviewed them 3 times, all in 1 week. It's just a stroke
all in one week. You interviewed him 3 times.
3 times.
The Beatles 3
Even
times.
They
How
were
did
surprised.
that happen? That's a feat.
I was on the BBC course in 1964 for 3 months. And after the 3 months, I had 2 weeks of free time, you know, leave. So I said, what am I going to do with 2 weeks in London? So I went on to EMI, and I saw, I was introduced to a man called Stan Stern. I didn't know he was that big, you know, but he was pretty senior in the EMI. So he said, what can I do for you? I said, well, I'd like to make a couple of interviews, take back with me to Hong Kong. He said, well, who would you like? I said, well, at the top of my list is the Beatles. He picked up the phone, and he called up Brian Epstein, who was the manager of the Beatles.
Right.
And I was shocked because, you know, he was so close. He said, well, I have a young man here from Hong Kong who wants to interview the Beatles and all that. And Brian said, perfect timing. We're having a press conference tomorrow. Just send him along. And would you believe, Michael, I didn't have a recorder. I didn't know how to go about it because I wasn't prepared. And
you never thought you'd get an interview with the Beatles.
Exactly. So this Stan Stern was so cute. He loaned me an EMI recorder, which was an old-fashioned box, you know, and it's heavy as hell. But I took it. I have no choice. I took that EMI recorder, and I went up this called NAMS Enterprises, the Beatles sort of home, you know. And meeting on the way there, I bought a Fab magazine with Paul McCartney.
With all 4 of them in the magazine.
So I said, well, why not? So I bought this magazine for 2 6 only.
So £2?
2 shilling 6.
All right, okay.
Right? And Paul was at the door when I went in, and he said, hi. I said, hi. I said, what do you have there in your armpit? I said, oh, a magazine, Fab magazine on you boys. He said, I don't think I've seen it. Can I have a look? I said, yeah, sure. So I passed it on to him. He was flicking on the page. I said, by the way, if you're going through that, could you autograph it to me? Oh, no problem. So I put to Ray, best wishes, Paul McCartney. And he started to flip the pages, and he found it. The minute he saw his picture, he signed a second time. Went through the whole magazine. Paul McCartney signed the whole magazine. I couldn't believe it. But he did it. And then after getting Paul, John Lennon came along. He saw what Paul did, and he did the same thing. So I had 2 of the principal Beatles already in my magazine. Then George Harrison followed, and Ringo Starr followed. So
So you had a magazine with...
I had 24 signatures in that Beatle magazine.
My God. More of news on just a moment with Uncle Ray. Don't go away.